All right, let's talk about one of the most genuinely chilling and stubborn mysteries of the 20th century, the Dyatlov Pass incident. Now, this isn't just some tragic story about a hiking trip that went wrong in Russia's Ural Mountains. No, this is a puzzle that has completely stumped investigators and fascinated people all over the world for more than 60 years. And this is where the mystery really grabs you. Just think about that for a moment. You're in the dead of a brutal Russian winter, and something terrifies a group of highly experienced hikers so much that they literally slice their way out of their only shelter. This one single, baffling clue just sets the stage for all the weirdness that's about to follow.
So to set the scene, picture this. It's the winter of 1959. A group of hikers is on a seriously challenging trip deep in the Ural Mountains. They set up what would be their final camp on this desolate slope called Hola Siacho, which, you can't make this up, translates to Dead Mountain. And then nothing, just silence. It's only later that a search party makes the first of many, many horrifying discoveries.
To really get just how bizarre all of this is, you need to know who these people were. See, this wasn't a bunch of unprepared tourists who just got lost in the woods. These people were experts.
There were 9 of them in total. Most were students or recent grads from the Ural Polytechnical Institute. They were all young, incredibly bright, and they were led by a really capable guy, 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov.
And I really have to stress this point. Every single one of them was an experienced Grade 2 certified hiker. They had serious skills in skiing and mountaineering. We're talking about tough, smart people who knew exactly what it takes to survive in these kinds of brutal conditions. They were ready for pretty much anything nature could throw at them. Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all. If they were so skilled, so prepared, what in the world could have happened on that mountain that was so terrifying, so powerful, that it just completely short-circuited all of their training and survival instincts? Okay, let's dig into the evidence itself. Because the search party didn't just find an empty campsite. What they found was a scene that raised so many more questions than it answered. A trail of baffling clues, frozen right there in the snow. The whole discovery unfolded in this just grim, step-by-step process. First, they found the abandoned, sliced-up tent. Then, they saw this trail of footprints leading away from it, many of them barefoot. Days and even weeks later, the bodies started being found. And then finally, the autopsies revealed these injuries that just defied all logical explanation. So these first clues, they paint a picture of just pure, unadulterated panic. They cut their way out of the tent. They didn't even take the time to unzip the entrance. The footprints show they just bolted downhill with no shoes, no proper coats, into temperatures well below freezing. What could possibly make 9 expert hikers do that? The first few bodies were found about a mile away from the camp, near what looked like a small, hastily made fire under a big cedar tree. But the others, they were found much later, only after the spring snows started to melt. They were discovered down in a ravine, just scattered across that desolate landscape. And when the medical examiners started to look into how they died, the mystery somehow got even deeper. The group was basically split. Some died from a cause you might expect out there, but the others died from something else entirely. So 6 of the hikers officially died from hypothermia, a terrible, tragic end. But it makes a certain kind of sense, right? They fled their only shelter without the right gear into the freezing cold. But that is not the whole story, not even close. Because the other 3 hikers, they had suffered these absolutely catastrophic internal injuries. I'm talking about fractured skulls, major chest fractures, the kinds of injuries the coroner said were like being hit by a speeding car. But here's the crazy part. Their bodies had no external wounds at all. It's like they were crushed by some immense invisible force. And then there's maybe the single most disturbing, bizarre detail in this entire case. One of the female hikers, who was found in the ravine with the others who had been crushed, was missing her tongue. And this really gets to the core contradiction of the whole thing. You've got these horrific, violent injuries on one hand, but on the other, investigators found zero evidence of a struggle. No other footprints besides the hikers, no signs of an animal attack, no sign of another person being there. Just silence. So you probably won't be surprised to learn that the official investigation back in 1959 was closed really quickly. The case file was classified, and for decades, the story was just buried under all these layers of government secrecy, leaving nothing behind but speculation and wild theories. So the crucial point is this. The official conclusion was that the hikers died because of an unknown compelling force. That's it. That's the official explanation. This vague, completely unsettling phrase for an event that led to 9 violent deaths. It's a riddle that, officially, is still unsolved. And you know, when you have a void of real answers, it gets filled with theories.
Some people point to a weird kind of slab avalanche that could crush people without leaving marks. Others suggest secret Soviet weapons tests, or even infrasound that can trigger panic. And of course, there are theories about something paranormal. But even with new investigations, no single theory neatly explains all the bizarre evidence. The truth, it seems, remains buried out there with them in the snow.
And that leaves us right back where we started, with the same question that's haunted this mystery from the very beginning. What force, what kind of terror, what unknown event could have made 9 of the toughest people you can imagine abandon everything and run out into that fatal darkness, never to come back?